Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Seth's torso. Getting at it on this fine Friday morning, my first day off of the week. Uh, Gotta repair the overhead console from my Explorer. I'm a ex-helicopter crew chief, and I mean that sounds like something that somebody would just say, but being in the military does something to you. And then being in a helicopter at night does something to you as well. And being in a helicopter at night doing like a mission in the rain in Washington or in Iraq or something like that, knowing that that's your helicopter that you've been working on a lot, it does something else because those helicopters aren't new, so they're like buying a used car. I think my first Black Hawk that I crewed was a 78 model, I think it was. So 1 year older than I was, and there it is, and it looks brand new basically, just because of the maintenance, and it wasn't brand new, obviously. It had some issues, but yeah, and then sometimes the other crew chiefs would work on your helicopters, not only the crew chiefs, but the maintenance workers and stuff, and to be honest with you, they didn't do a great job sometimes, but for the most part, they weren't doing anything that would bring it out of the sky. But point I'm making is that when you are, I tip my camera up. That's why all my videos look weird. You're either looking up my nose or down at the top of my head so you can capture the full thing. Yeah, so when you're flying across the desert in Iraq, in a helicopter in the dark, your sense of hearing and sense of vibration become very acute because you're listening for anything to be going wrong with that helicopter. Any smells, any sounds, any vibrations, and you get good at it. I found a missing screwdriver one time by a squeaking noise that I could hear through all the engine noise. Anyway, you pay attention a lot more to things. You pay attention to it a lot more of everything. Having been, over in the war, not that it was a war, over in the fucking obliteration of Iraq, you get to be a little bit more keen on who's walking around, who's looking at you, how much noise you're making, I don't make noise very often. Like when I see these guys on these Harleys driving around or in these trucks that make a lot of fucking noise, I'm like, you're making a lot of noise there, dude. You know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't get away with that if somebody wanted to take that truck away from you. You'd want that truck to be quiet. Anyway, yeah, so what's in my pocket? Oh, earplugs. What was I saying about making noise and about seeing things differently? Things change you, and then you become who you are. You don't have to be who you are, but you kind of become that person. So I notice everything about a car as soon as I get near one. Oh, speaking of which, this guy posted on my YouTube channel. I hope he posts some more because he was being friendly. But apparently he's a mechanic of some sort. And he was like, hey, buddy, that black car, you just got ripped off. Because I posted, did I get ripped off for $800 buying that car? He's like, yeah, you totally got ripped off by buying that car for $800, basically, is what he was saying. So I read the comments. And I almost responded to him, but I thought, I'll respond to him in a video, So just out of curiosity, I clicked on who he was just to see who his profile is, and he's just a guy who claims to be a mechanic. Apparently he broke his back or something like that, and I don't think he can walk anymore. That sucks, but yeah, he said he was a mechanic, but I took a ride in that car before I brought it home, and I checked to see if mechanically that car was sound. Were the clutches slipping? If the clutches are slipping, you may have some valve issues. If the clutches are slipping, you may have some pump issues. You may have some pressure regulation issues. You may have some line pressure regulation issues. Things like that. You check the brakes. You listen for the bearings. You listen to the engine. You smell the engine. You look in the fucking coolant tank for oil. You look in the oil tank for coolant. You know what I mean? You do all these basic things that I've learned to do over the years of being a shithead. But yeah, he said, I hope you know a mechanic, I think he said. Yeah, I know one. I know a fucking everything on this goddamn planet mechanic. This guy right here. Anyway, the car is solid. I may have been bamboozled a little bit by the kid wanting to deliver the car to me, because to be able to deliver the car to me, he was able to heat up the transmission. The issue I'm having with the car right now is that it doesn't shift until it's warm, until the transmission warms up. And of course the transmission was warm when he brought it to me. I've never run into a cold transmission not shifting. But as technology advances and blah, 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 you know, it doesn't have a pressure accumulator valve in this transmission, whatever you want to call it, hydraulic accumulator, fucking pressure regulation, whatever the fucking line pressure regulator valve. I'm saying this because the guy that commented on my video is probably going to comment about that. It doesn't have one of those in a traditional sense. It's got a valve that does the same thing. So there's an electronic valve. Why have a metal spring with a certain tension when you can replace it with electronics and wires and submerge them in fucking oil? I don't know. So it's got a valve that does that, and that valve is most likely gunked up because the transmission fluid was gunked up. Not burnt. You know, the bands and clutches all seem to be fine in there, and the solenoids do shift, but only when it's warm. So that's what I'm dealing with. So I've grokked the fuck out of it and done my own little silly research, and it's basically not a fluid issue at this point in time, unless the new fluid can clean out some of the gunk from the fucking line pressure valve, LPR, OPR. It's got a bunch of different things, which it probably won't. I'm the kind of guy that would put some diesel fuel in that fucking thing and let it run for a couple days and then drain it and see what happens. But I don't really want to do that to a transmission. So I'm going to crack that fucking thing open, which is going to take me probably 2 weeks because it's a job. The driver's side wheel has to come off, the fucking battery tray has to come out, and then for the battery tray to come out, the fucking PCM has to come out, the fuse panel, you have to do some disassembly on that car to get that done. That's why it costs $4,000 to have your fucking line pressure regulating valve and your fucking shift solenoids replaced. Do you know that some transmission companies put those on the outside of the transmission? Ooh, isn't that fucking nice? And then they plug in through the side. You can just unplug them and replace them. Some transmission companies then decided to put them in the oil pan, they were a bunch of dickheads. And then some companies, such as the one that made that black car, decided to not put them in the oil pan and to put them underneath the side panel of the transmission. The CV axle goes through the side panel. So you can see how this just becomes clusterfuck on top of clusterfuck on top of clusterfuck. So wheel has to come off. CV axle has to come off. Fucking suspension has to come out. Battery tray, PCM, fucking fuse panel, all that shit has to come off. Then you can crack this cover. You can't take it off. You can crack it. And it'll slip out about 2 inches and be up against the fucking inner fender well. And then you can wiggle your little snaky fingers in there and do some work, right? So that's why this car gets a bad rap. This car gets a bad rap because they put that transmission in the 4-cylinder car, they put it in the 3.5 liter car, and they put it in the 3.9 liter high output car, which is what I have. And that's fine as long as you sell that car to, you know, a man with a beard. But if you sell that car to, you know, men under 20 and most women, they will destroy that car. So that's a joke. I know women won't necessarily destroy cars, but on average they do. You can't just fucking rip on that car. It'll eat the transmission out of it. And, you know, listening, smelling, feeling, you're going to say, hey, this feels like I'm doing damage to this car. It feels like I probably shouldn't be at full throttle as it runs through all the gears from every fucking red light to every red light. It feels like maybe you should let it slowly go through the gears because you've got a big transmission or small transmission and a big engine. That car will last me probably 10 years if I want it to. once I replace these shift solenoids and this fucking pressure regulation valve solenoid, PCR, LMNOP, whatever you want to call it. I don't memorize them. Yeah. So that was my little diatribe for the guy that commented. I love your comment, by the way, buddy. Keep them coming. But, yeah. Maybe you got some more information for me on this car that you could say, hey, dude, this is how I've worked on them. This is what you could try to do. That'd be helpful. But telling me that it's a piece of shit is not helpful. No cars are piece of shits. Some cars shouldn't be driven by fucktards is what I'm getting at. You know, you give certain cars to certain people. Give a Volvo to your wife, you know, not a new one. Give her a fucking 1997 V70, you know. Give her a Toyota fucking Camry, Honda Accord, Honda Odyssey, Honda, you know, Pilot. That's what dum-dums should drive. Not women are dum-dums, but just people that don't know anything about cars. Maybe a new Subaru, but you better know how to work on them because they do like to poop eventually. He doesn't like women. That's what his problem is. I had a girlfriend said that I'm not gay, but I don't like women. I do like women. I just don't like the creatures that we allow them to be. Okay. Back to the overhead console. Here we are. Wasn't that fun? That was a fun little conversation. This thing is a feat of shitty engineering. If you look right here, nope, I took them out already. What'd I do with them? Put them over there. Right in these little slots here are, let me get them just to be a dickhead. I'm back. Here you go. See this thing? That's a clip, one of those little panel retention clips, and that little gray thing in there, it's not supposed to be in there. That's supposed to be sticking to the roof of my Explorer. This thing, I'm going to guess it weighs 2 pounds. This thing is hanging by 4 of these. These have like little vampire teeth in them that grab onto the plastic tab that's hanging down, right? There's teeth on the inside that grab this, and then these little nubbins here fucking, they push out into these slots. So you push this thing on, and those little things push out. Anyway, you're supposed to be able to grab this and pull it down. And then as you pull it down, it overcomes the little lumpy dumps on there, and it pops off. That's never what happens. What happens is you snap these off because it's a bad design. Could they have painted these with some sort of, you know, dry film lube or some sort of Teflon? Yeah, they could have done that. They don't do that. It costs too much. This is the cheapest way to stick one of these to the ceiling without using screws, without training somebody to use a screwdriver when they'll slip off and stick it into the fucking ceiling panel, right? So this is designed for manufacture, not designed for repair. So as I'm cruising down the road at night, you know what I mean? I listen to shit in my truck. And I got a front wheel bearing that's been going bad for the entire time I've had the truck. It's odd because wheel bearings typically don't get better and they get worse progressively, pretty quickly. Exponentially is what I was looking for, not progressively. It just starts to go bad. This one doesn't. This one just growls. I'm not going to replace it till it goes bad. That's the kind of guy I am. Sounds like I have a bad tire, but it's not. It's the fucking wheel bearing. So now I hear this every time I go over a bump. Suspension sound. No, it's not suspension sound. What it was these front 2 tabs had completely broken off, and this console's just fucking doing one of these guys every time I hit a bump. Oddly enough, right after Nathan borrowed it, this started happening. I don't know if he jumped some railroad tracks. I don't know. I didn't say anything to him because you can't blame this shit breaking on your son, but it was odd. Serendipitous. So this thing was hanging from these back 2 tabs. You can't get to anything from the front side to take this down. What you have to do is pop this tab, which opens up this panel, which it's in there with these 2 tabs. There's a light bulb. Nothing interesting under here. So I'm exploring how to take this down, because I thought the way things used to be built was under this bezel would be maybe a screw here and a screw here, and then you could take it down. Or under this bezel would be, I gotta put this down, would be how you pull this bezel off, and then how you pull this bezel off, and then under here would be 4 tabs with screws. No, these don't come out from this side, they come out from this side. And this only gives you access to the light bulb. So I'm like, well, I guess it's a fucking pull it down situation. So I pulled it down, and I received the remaining 2 tabs from the ceiling in this panel. How do I put it back? Do I glue it back up? Are these tabs close enough? Is this surface close enough to the surface where those tabs broke off that I could glue it back up with some sort of an epoxy, some sort of expandable foam glue, something. The problem with glues is glues are not necessarily a chemical bond. They're usually a mechanical bond. So you're going to have a surface and a surface where they have to adhere to. They're not clean. This is going to be vibrating. It's going to be hot as hell. This is going to fall back down if I just do a glue bond on there. That, and I'll have to yank it down if I ever have to service this again, which I don't think I will. If I drill a bunch of holes around these holes so that the glue can drip down through and expand below the hole, now you've got a mechanical rivet type thing happening. If I drill holes up into the panel, same thing. Push some up through there, it goops out over the top. Now you've got like a little epoxy fucking rivet sort of thing that will hold it up there. Anyway, all these thoughts, no. What if I bend these tabs straight down and heat them up and push them into the plastic? I bent a tab and it snapped off. So that's not gonna work. Slowly figuring out how to put this back. This is a dumb conversation. What I've come up with is horrific, but it's what I'm gonna do because it's what needs to happen. We're going to drill a hole here and a hole here, which will come through right here and right here. No, right here and here, through those holes. So now I can put screws up through to the plastic, and then back here, I'm going to put a hole here and a hole here so I can screw into where these posts come down. And it's going to look like shit. And I'm probably going to drag my drill across the plastic a bit like an idiot. And then I've got these fucking countersunk face screws. These are wood screws. Not what I want. I wish I had some button heads, but I don't. So these are going to be what I use to retain that to the ceiling and through the back. If they were button heads, they'd look a lot nicer so that people wouldn't be like, hey, you've got wood screws holding your console up. Don't think anybody ever looks up there. And I don't have anything to countersink these with. And well, that's about an 1/8 thick. So I could countersink it a little bit. I might do a little countersinking, but first thing this morning, I'm going to drill some holes into my console, and then I'm going to reattach it. We shall see. That's today's first task. Put the console back in the Explorer so that the when I'm driving goes away, so I can hear my wheel bearing grind away better. From there, I have to get my car out of the backyard, which I don't know how successful that's going to be. It's coming the fuck out of there, though. I'm not waiting any longer to get my car out of the backyard. Again, I don't have a strap long enough to do anything manly, so we'll see what happens there. And it's just me, so I'm going to have to manage one vehicle as a counterweight and the other vehicle as a... Anyway, I'm probably going to crash them into each other. Knowing that now before I do it is going to be fun. So we'll get the other car out. Then I've got to bring the lawnmower up here and put a belt on it. Don't know why the belt fell off or burned off, but Nathan was probably mowing at 7,846.7 miles an hour with the throttle wide open. Probably. I'm not blaming him for this, but that's one of those things where if you're riding on a classic old ass lawnmower, you can't fucking go that fast. You gotta listen. Is this thing squeaking? Is the belt fucking slipping? You see what I'm saying? The tensioners and shit on this thing are old. So if you're mowing grass at 1 billion miles an hour at full throttle and the grass is 6 inches tall, it's going to put some wear on your belts, and I think that's most likely what was going on. So I'll probably put this belt on today, and I'll probably mow grass. And then I have to do a tension check or a compression check on the truck at some point in time. I honestly don't have to do any of this, but I've been driving myself a little nuts lately here with all the bullshit I've been doing, just fixing stuff all the time, which is what I like doing, but it gets to be a bit monotonous, if you know what I'm saying. Monotonous, single tone. Gets to be a little bit like that. Oh, while I'm playing around, the hydraulic filter for the mower too. Might do that. Don't want to do that. I should do that, but we'll see what happens. I might do that after I mow again. That's going to be a mess. I got to have fun. I got to force myself to have fun. So I'm going to have a nature day this weekend. I'm going to go out and do some hiking. And then I'm going to have a Huntsville evening. So I'm going to get a hotel room in downtown Huntsville probably tomorrow night. Maybe tonight if I get bored enough or if today goes well enough. And I'm going to go down to the Voodoo Lounge. And I'm going to go to fucking Jack Brown's Burgers and Headbangers Ballroom. I'm just going to go downtown and enjoy myself a bit. I think I'm going to. Sleep in a big comfortable bed and waste a lot of water in the shower. You know, I don't know what I'm going to do. But I have to force myself to enjoy myself. Because right now, I'm not having fun. Don't get me wrong. I'm enjoying myself. You know, the whole fucking monk farmer funsies. But I need to blow the pipes out a little bit. So, that's what's going on this weekend. Okay, I gotta make some progress.